Hello and welcome to the Brand Therapist Podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm your host, Yamelka Rodriguez. And today we're going to do something different. I thought, the book, The Brand Therapist, is coming out. You can do your pre-orders. I'm so excited about it. So I wanted to tell you the process that I went through to write the book, because I think it really helped me. And I thought for those of you who are getting ready to write your book or have been thinking about writing a book, I thought this might be an interesting process for you. So the first thing we need to know is our brand, right? Start with you. So the first thing we want to do is find out our character. You can do it super easy if you want to go to bespokebranding.io and do the quiz there and find out your character. Or you can just write down a few characteristics of yourself to really define that you. Okay, so it's super easy. For example, I'm a lover. And so for me, I like things made of quality. I am compassionate. I also am indulgent and I'm passionate. And so that's my sort of character. So really find out your personal character. So that's the first thing. The second thing is find out your opposite. Who are you writing to, right? This is really important to keep in mind because as I go through each of the steps, you're going to have to think about who are you writing to? Who is your audience, okay? And not the entire world, all right? No, not the entire world. Who specifically, that one individual, are you writing to? That's really important. Okay. All right. So now you have your personality, and then you have who you're writing to, your superfan. And describe them too. Are they more of a discovery type of person that like to discover things and going journeys? Or are they more of intelligence, a sage that they want to know about the world? Or are they more magicians? They like to make magic, literally and figuratively. Or are they more of a caregiver that they like to support individuals? So really think about the characteristics of your opposite and who you're writing this for. Now we are going into the next piece, which is, what is your genre? Okay. Is it a comedy? Is it a business book? Is it a love story? Is it a drama? What kind of genre are you writing? This is really important. And then we're going to go and ask, what is your role in your story? Are you the guide? Are you the mentor? You don't really want to be the hero, but what is your job in the story? Yes, the book title is important, but don't worry about that yet. The book title will come, and we'll talk about book titles in a different episode. But a book title is usually comes after you've written the outline. And today, all we're doing is writing an outline because that's the hardest thing. Once you have the outline, all you need to do is go in and write more in each of the different places. So it's super simple. Okay. So we're going to use The Hero's Journey from Joseph Campbell, okay? And yeah, I have to tell you something. You're going to know what's going to happen in each movie you watch now because this is the process they follow for movies, okay? And you're going to be, oh, right, this is this. Now they're going to go into this. Most Hollywood studios write The Hero's Journey. And there's a process to that. And I'm going to share that with you so you can write the outline of your book. Okay. So the first one is the ordinary world. So what do? You set up the world you live in, the world you want to talk about, the world that the book is going to be all about. You kind of set that up. Okay, so that's the first step. Set up the ordinary world, the world you live in today, right? Because the whole point is that you're going to have a transformation at the end of this. So if you start with where you started, it might not be today, it might be, a couple years ago. Then you go into what the future is going to be, and that's the reward. We'll talk about that. The second one is the call to adventure. Okay, so what is the thing that made you start what you started or do what the story's about? Like, what made you want to move towards that, move forward and do that? Okay, a lot of us, there was something that happened in our life that made us take that step. Okay, so for example, I don't know if you remember Star Wars, but Luke Skywalker, right? Remember that Obi-Wan Kenobi or this like kind of ghost appeared and told him and said something, and he was intrigued, right? That intrigued him to go and know more. That's what the call to adventure is. What is that intrigue that you're like, I kind of want to know more about this? The third one is refusal to the call. I don't know if you noticed, but there's always a refusal. Well, I'm not ready for this. I kind of want to do more of this before I do that. Or, my mother's sick, or this or that. What's the refusal? Like, what doesn't let you continue on? And this is the way that stories are because you want to make it more interesting, right? What stopped you from kind of moving that piece of your life forward? Okay, like for me, one of the things that kind of stopped me from writing this book was I didn't think I was a writer. And so that wouldn't let me move forward. Now, my dad has like 20, 30 books. And that was the thing that kept like, I'm not my dad, and I'm not my dad for sure. So it's like, what is stopping you from doing what you're meant to be doing? The next one, meeting a mentor, right? We never do things on our own. We always have somebody that guides us. It might be somebody that's dead. It might be somebody that is, family. It might be somebody in business. So talk about how this person guided you to where you are today. And if you read my book, you're going to see this process coming to life real time, because this is what I used. The fifth one, crossing the first threshold. Okay, and I'm going to read to you what this is. Identify the major event, activity, or achievement that delights and helps your superfan to continue. Remember, we're keeping the superfan in mind as we move along the steps to story, because we're writing it for them, right? And so what is the first major achievement? What was the first thing that gave you like, wow, I can do this. I can move forward on this. So if and give you an example, if your superfan is an explorer and they like to explore, you might write it through the eyes of exploring something new, right? I took the step, I went here, then I traveled the world, then I, discovered this. So that's how this helps you kind of really define how you're going to write the story so they're engaged in the book. The next one is test allies and enemies, okay? Identify at least 3 important tests and trials and challenges that get in the Superfans way. Okay? So what are things that you believe get in your Superfans way? And how do you move from there? So describe the event and then tell them how they can move forward, right? So that's really the intent there. 7, cave. Identify the emotional transformation that occurs in the superfan and shifts direction in the story. So you've seen this, right? When you're like, oh, this is going to happen. And it's like, no, something else is happening. What happened from here to there? Like, so for me, like, I thought, this is the funny part, but let's go back to Star Wars. So when I found out that Leia was Luke Skywalker's brother, I was like, what? I thought they were supposed to fall in love. So that was kind of like a shock to me. So what happens that shifts this, that you decided to pivot? Maybe it's a pivot in your business, or what happened there that you went an entire different direction. The 8, the supreme ordeal. Identify what the superfan gives his or her true self to achieve what they really wanted in the story. So you have to give something up to get something. So what was that you gave up so that you could achieve your goal? Okay, for me, for example, I was undervaluing my work, and I had to give up that thinking that I had to sell it at whatever price so that I could get a client. When I stopped thinking that way and I valued my work, everything was easier for me. So I had to give up that old thinking, that limiting belief. So what was it that you had to give up to continue on the story? So then we go to the reward. Identify the reward of the story. So what was it that you got, right? What was this is not the final. This is like, what was the first, the reward of doing all this? For me, for example, if I think about my business, the reward is that I got to help other people, and that I got to have clients that I love to work with, and that they're doing amazing things. So what was the reward that you received? Now we go on to the road back. Okay? Identify ways to keep the superfan connected to the journey after the thought of the reward. So after you got the reward, what other things kind of helped you continue, right? So I decided to do a book and a podcast that helped me kind of continue my journey in my business. And so what are the things that after you received that reward, that you added to it so you can continue that journey? Okay, 11, resurrection. Identify the superfan's reflections on the journey. So now you're looking at it from their point of view, right? And you're kind of reflecting on what has happened in the journey. What have you learned? Maybe it's lessons learned and that you've kind of picked up. So think about, what are the lessons that you have learned through this process? And the last one is the return with the elixir. Identify ways that the superfans share their experiences with others, and identify their greater realization. Okay? So a lot of times the initial reward can be like monetary, or that you got something, but what's the actual reward? Right? What is that emotional element that you want to bring into the story? And that may be, I have a better life with my family. I was able to then give my time to a nonprofit I really believed in. So what is the actual reward? And that usually doesn't happen till we kind of reflect on everything that, we've been through. And then we say, oh, the real reward was this. And it's usually something super emotional and that you're super proud of. So there we go. Super simple, right? Now you can write your own book. So once you have those, I call them the 12 chapters, the very first 12 chapters, and it might turn into more than that. In my book, there's more than 12 chapters, but it gives you the framework for how you want to tell the story to your audience. And then you film that in, and then you start to see, well, I need to add something here. I'm going to add another chapter here. This chapter is too long. We might want to break this chapter into 2 chapters or 3 or 4. So really think about how you would break this down into a story that you want to tell. And the other, thing that I think is really important is tell your story. Be vulnerable. Tell people, things that weren't that great, and things that were great. That's what stories are about. There always needs to be a dip in the story that gives us something more, that gives us something that we can look forward to. So I hope you got a lot from this, and I want to do a challenge. I'm going to do a story challenge in the next few weeks. So if you want to sign up for that, write me an email, and maybe we do it in, March, April, or May. But if you want to join that, write me at yamelka@bespokebranding.io so you can register for that. It will be completely free, and I will help you go through the steps to story. So don't forget to join me. And also do the quiz at bespokebranding.io. Click on quiz so you can find out your personal brand character. And thank you so much. And I'll see you on the next show.